Hello everyone, my name is Tommy.
I'm Mackenzie.
And welcome back to Backstage Thoughts. We have some more stories for you guys today. Kenzie magically remembered that she actually has stories to tell. Even though the past, I think, 2 or maybe even 3 times we did this,
They just hit me. Last night, I was like, oh my gosh, I could tell this story and I could tell this story. So I'm going to tell a story today.
It seems like you're making things up.
No, I'm not making it up.
So we're each going to tell a story today. Kenzie will go first because that's how the rules go, right?
Women go first.
Yeah, women and children. But we don't have any children this time, so. Because of Sam, you know.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
Kenzie has a story about rushing to get into a park before it closed. And I have a story about when I was working and someone hacked into like the lightning lane system or something. Still not really 100% sure, but I'll give you more details about that later.
So I was scheduled to work 4 to 10. No, we closed at 11. So I was scheduled to work 4 to 11. And which meant that I would have a full lunch break, unpaid 30 minutes, and then a 15-minute break, which was paid. And I wasn't supposed to have closing duties at all because I was getting off at 11 and not 11:30 or 11:45. So I asked my cord and I put in on the computer, you can put in for an ER, which is an early release from your shift. So I put it on the computer. I was like, early release for, I think I put 8:30 and it got denied. So I went up to the cord.
Hang on, for context here. I know of 0 people that have gotten an ER approved in the entire time that I worked at Disney.
It occasionally happened at CBR. Once every couple of weeks, someone would get an ER, but not often.
Yeah, you could request an ER. It was going to get denied every time. The only time you ever got an ER is if a coordinator asked you if you wanted it. And usually this was in the case where, if you saw our ride breakdown video, the ride broke down and they knew they weren't going to have it back open before close, then they would try to send people home. But no, I don't know anyone that got an ER approved.
But in my case, one of my favorite cords who I became friends with while I was at Disney was on his cord that night. And she was like, no, I think I'm going to have you take a closing duty and extend your shift. And I was like, wow, that really sucks. Because I was trying to rush and get to Hollywood Studios before it closed at 9 to meet my parents and my aunt and uncle who were visiting for a couple days. So I was like, well, it'd be really cool if you could let me leave at 8:30 so I could change, get on this, sprint to the Skyliner, get on the Skyliner, and maybe make it before the park closed. And she was like, I just don't think it's going to happen. And night keeps going. It's 7:45 now, and I still haven't gotten my ER. And I'm waiting, and I'm waiting. And finally, at 8:25, she's like, Kenzie, you can leave at 8:30. I don't have, everyone showed up for closing shift, so you can go. So she accepted I went back, put in my ER again. She accepted. I clocked out, changed my clothes really quickly. And if you've ever been to Caribbean Beach Resort, it's about it's about half a mile from where the main quick service restaurant is and where the lobby area is to the Skyliner Station, yeah. So I sprinted over to the Skyliner station, got on the Skyliner, headed towards Hollywood Studios.
And it's what time at this point?
It's 8:50 as I'm getting on the Skyliner. And it's a 5-minute Skyliner ride to Hollywood Studios, so it's not very long. And then I get off, I'm sprinting to the gate. I have to go through security, get into the gate, and then as I was on the Skyliner, I was like, oh shoot, I don't have a park reservation. So I'm updating. All I can get is Epcot. And I'm like, well, that's not going to get me into Hollywood Studios, but I take it anyway. I was like, maybe they'll just let me in. So I get to the gate, I scan my fingerprint. The girl's like, oh, it says that, let me get a cord. So she holds her hand up. I'm like, please let me into the park. My parents at this point are in line for Tower of Terror because they know get in line before the park closes.
Of course.
So they're in line for Tower of Terror. I'm like, I'm on my way. I'll be in a minute. So the lady's like, it says that you only have a park reservation for Epcot. Did you go to Epcot today? And I'm like, yeah, I went to Epcot this morning, knowing well that I did not go to Epcot that morning. Sorry. So she's like, it's okay, I'll let you in this time. Mind you, it's like 8:59 at this point. She should not have let me in. Like, the park was about to close.
Or the other way around. She should just let you in. What does it matter?
Yeah. So she lets me in. I'm running to meet them at Tower of Terror because I'm scared that I won't be able to get in the entrance to go find them in line. So I finally get there and I'm like, hey, I have family up there. They're like putting the ropes up to stop people from going in. They're putting the ropes up. I'm like, my family's up there. Could I just, they're like, yeah, you're good. So then I'm cutting in front of people, which I hate doing because I think that's so rude. But I'm like, oh, my parents are just, and they're like, yeah, go ahead. Everyone was so nice about it. But
well, because at that point, their day's over, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how long they wait in that line because they're not doing anything after anyway.
Yeah.
The park's closing, so.
But it was like those 15 minutes of trying to get from the Skyliner to Hollywood Studios, not having a park reservation, getting it was crazy. But I made it. I rode Tower of Terror with my parents and my aunt and uncle, and it was a good way to end the night.
Kind of reminds me of the day we first got our park passes, or what are they called? The self-admit passes. I worked that day, and that was the day we got them. You and Courtney, I think, were in.
Yeah.
So Kenzie and one of our friends were in Magic Kingdom. And I was working in Magic Kingdom. I got off, went home, changed, turned around, drove right back to Magic Kingdom just in time for the fireworks. But I didn't get there in time for the start of the fireworks.
Yeah, you were like, 5 minutes into the fireworks, you like found us.
Yeah. No, I found you guys after the fireworks.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're like, we're by the trash can. I'm like, there's literally one every 20 feet. What do you mean you're by the trash can?
That was my bad explanation. That's my bad.
So I waited at the entrance to Adventureland on that little bench there.
Yeah.
For you guys.
It was crazy. I just keep thinking about it. Like, it wasn't even like I was walking to the Skyliner and I was like, maybe I should run. No, I walked out of where like the cast members have like space to eat outside, and I just started sprinting, backpack on full of like shoes and my clothes that I wore at CBR, my hat, just sprinting. And I thought about crossing. So at Caribbean Beach there's a little island in the middle, but on my first day of training, they were like, there's snakes on that island. I wouldn't go there at night. And it was dark out. I wasn't running across that island.
Snakes aren't going to hurt you.
They might in Florida.
So I was working at Pirates, as I did. And I rotated on up to Lightning Lane entry. And as I get up there, I got like a warning from a coworker of mine that the names that come up on the podium. So that podium that like the Lightning Lane person stands at, when you scan your band, your name pops up on there, and it'll either give you like green with a check mark, which means you're good to go, right? You have a Lightning Lane reservation for that time. It turns green, that means let them in. Or it'll come up with your name and it'll say something else. It'll either say guest is X amount of minutes early, or if it's DAS, you'll have to approve it. Or it may say no Lightning Lane found, right? Which means that they're in the wrong place and you got to tell them to go to standby. But the important thing here for this story is that their name comes up. And sometimes also the picture. I think with DAS, they need to have a picture so you can identify that it's the right person. They didn't pass their band off to someone. It's a little bit less strict. Not everyone needs a picture just for Lightning Lane. But yeah, that comes up. Their name comes up. And on this particular day, I got a warning as I rotated up there that the system was acting weird, and some of the names may not have been people's actual names. And she showed me on the iPhone that's held there. We have iPhones and iPads that we keep up there for various reasons. She took a video on the Disney iPhone and showed me some of the names that kept popping up for people. To this day, we still don't know exactly what happened, but somehow it seemed like someone hacked into the system and was messing with people's names. Because a lot of the time what would happen is they would scan, and for a split second, their real name would show up, and then it would change to something else. Things like egg white, woman, discharge was one of the things that came up. And it seemed like they were doing it in real time, too, because at one point they, like, wrote out a sentence. Like, each additional name that would scan was, like, the next word in the sentence. I don't remember exactly what the sentence was, but it was
so
like
strange.
it was a coherent thing. So that made us think like someone's actively changing this, like as it's happening. It's not just like they mess with these people's accounts or something and change their names on their accounts. And the other thing that was weird about it was the iPads and the iPhones that we have like scanners on them, so we can scan people in that way. It's kind of the same as the touchpoint system, except it's on the phone, and it shows up with the name on the phone. And I decided to experiment with this to figure out what was going on, so I used the iPad to scan people in, and when I scanned with the iPad, their actual name showed up. Like, I remember, I'm like, something's acting weird, I want to try an experiment with you. I asked a guest, like, after they scanned in, their name popped up as, I don't know, like, white woman or whatever it came up as. And I was like, can I try something real quick? Can I scan your band again with this iPad? They're like, yeah. And I scanned it with the iPad and their actual name. I'm like, is this your name? They're like, yeah, that's me. Their actual name showed up. I'm like, oh, your name's not white woman? Good to know.
No, thanks.
But yeah, I never ended up finding out what actually happened with that, what the cause was, or how they fixed it. But they did end up fixing it. I think it worked fine. I don't know if it might have been a day or two before it went back to normal, but
I think I remember you like, oh, the lightning lane is saying random things again, like multiple days.
I think they fixed it, and then it did it again, and then they fixed it again. I'm not sure. And I don't know how this would even work, because if it was a hacker, right? If someone hacked into a system, it wouldn't... Either they hack into someone's account and they change it for their entire account, right?
Yeah.
Or they hack into the scanning system, and regardless of how you scan it, it would change, right? So it seemed like they only hacked into that one podium, which doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
And they just changed the way that text was shown on that specific podium. So I don't know. I don't know what the actual issue was.
It's like someone like sitting on the bench across from the entrance. They're like, white woman.
The other thing is about, it's almost like someone, you know how you like inspect Element on like a web browser and you can just change the text, but you're not actually changing anything, right? If you refresh, it just goes back to normal.
Yeah.
You're just changing the appearance of it. It's like that's what they were doing, because they weren't actually changing any data, any values, like anything in the actual system. They were just changing how the text appeared on the screen. Of course, if there's anyone superstitious out there, I'm sure you'll say it was probably George doing it. And if you don't know who George is, you got some Pirates of the Caribbean lore to catch up on. But yeah, I think that's all we have for you today. Maybe not as exciting as our previous stories, but still some interesting things that happened while we worked at Disney World. If you enjoyed, please leave a like. Consider subscribing as well. We have other stories. We have informative videos, games.
I do have more stories. I've thought of a couple. So
we rank things too, give our opinions on various Disney things, and also giving our opinions on various Disney topics. We did like annoying things guests do recently. And I think we might continue along that trend, just giving our thoughts about things, such as like how to handle like when large groups go to Disney World, I think is something we can talk about.
Yeah.
Another thing we can talk about more in depth is what you did in that story where you cut everyone in line to catch up with your family. I know those are some contentious topics, so
yeah.
I think that maybe we could discuss that in the future as well. But yeah, like, subscribe, comment, all those things. Thank you guys for watching. Much appreciated, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.